What is going on, everybody? We are back with episode 15 of the Residual Earners podcast. I am Jordan.
And I am Presley.
And we are thrilled to be back with you today. Today, we're going to be how to turn defeat into success. We have a bunch of great topics, a bunch of great points to go over this, and we're happy to be here. We also are doing a giveaway for 3 lucky subscribers to the channel. We're doing a copy of Millionaire by Halftime and a copy of Be, Do, and Have More. These will be signed copies, and to enter to win, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel. You have to put a thumbs up on this video and leave us a comment. Those 3 things: subscribe to the channel, like the video with a thumbs up, and leave a comment, and you will enter to win both of Coach's books here. And they will be signed copies. Once we pick the 3 winners, we'll get addresses and get these sent out. But that's an awesome little giveaway we're doing here at the Residual Earners channel. And we have a lot to go over today. A lot of good stuff, but also, we've had a little incident with my sweet grandmother, which, Presley can go over, which is also on the topic of turning defeat into success, which, she's going to have some tough times upcoming. But why don't you fill everybody in on sweet Nana and kind of what's happened to her within the last 24 hours?
Yes, it's been an amazing 24 hours, I would say. Amazing may not even be the right word. But anyway, I was talking to Jordan as he was driving home from the airport. He had flown in from Calgary, where he and Grayson had been doing some hockey stuff. And Nana lives in our guest house. That's Jeannie's mom. She's just like my mom. And when I'm talking to Jordan, she calls, and I thought something just didn't sit right. So I jumped off with Jordan and answered it. Something just told me to, and she had fallen getting out of the bathtub. And so Jeannie was sitting there with me, so I told Jeannie, I said, she's just getting out of the bathtub, so you run over there and see what's going on. Well, I get a call a few minutes later that, they'd got Nana halfway dressed anyway, and they got me over there, and I picked her up and got her in a chair. But to make a long story short, she had broken her hip, which obviously is not good. Obviously, she's at the hospital right now as we speak. I think the surgery is going to be this afternoon or first thing in the morning. I was up there earlier and then came back to do the podcast, and Jeannie relieved me up there at the hospital. But, as far as turning defeat into victory, this has a bright spot too. Now, obviously, you don't want your 86-year-old mother going through stuff like this, but her left hip has bad arthritis, and it had been bothering her a whole lot lately. Not her right hip. Her right hip's in good shape, but her left hip, for whatever reason, well, the good Lord has a plan here, and the good Lord let her break the left hip, which we had actually talked about maybe needing hip replacement. So it kind of answered the question real quick for her right there. There's no option. She's going to have to get it fixed. But in the long run, now I hate the next 3 or 4 months that she's going to have to go through rehab, but I think in the long run, we're going to turn defeat into victory, and she's going to be able to get around so much better. And by the way, for an 86-year-old lady, she doesn't look 86. She doesn't act 86. She still drives and blows and goes and shops and travels and all that. So I think this is going to be a blessing from the good Lord.
Definitely. Yeah. So everybody listening, just keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Hoping a speedy recovery. I went by there as well this morning, and the kids made some cards for her, so she was happy to see that. And just the sweetest lady, just an amazing grandmother. So hopefully she'll be back on her feet quickly, and I'm sure she will be. But
absolutely. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of what we're going to talk about, you kind of had a big hockey weekend this weekend.
Yeah, I got to go to Canada. I think I may have said Grayson's made a team up in Canada, and they had their first practice. It's a AAA team, full ice for a 6-year-old, which is a big change for him. So just had a bunch of fun meeting parents, just kind of getting into that with him, letting him meet new friends. He's got a good buddy on the team, which, we pulled up he was a little nervous. We pulled up in the parking lot at the same time, and his buddy came and jumped on him. So kind of relieved some of those nerves for him. And it was a lot of fun. It was a little cold still, 30s and 40s, but it was a lot of fun to get up there and see him happy.
Yeah. And Jordan was telling me that He was one of the better players.
He's
so
still good. So
that's good. And by the way, in case you guys hadn't heard, Jordan and Nikki are moving to Calgary. So
moving to Calgary, still going to spend a bunch of time down here. But we're excited for the next chapter in our lives, and it's bittersweet and tough, but I think it'll be a good move for the family and good for the kids. And, we'll see how it goes.
I've never lived 1,200 miles from Jordan, so this will be a little bit different deal here. When he went to Arizona State, we actually bought a house in Phoenix so we could be at the game. So this is going to be an adjustment for Jeannie and I, but I'm excited. We're going to, you turn defeat into victory. I mean, we're gonna end up making this a good thing. So it's all good.
Definitely, because as y'all know, in one of the last episodes, we went over kind of our friendship and how close we are, and we talk every single morning on the way when I'm heading into the office or whatever it is, and usually on the way back, and if I go to lunch, and kind of any time in the car. So
about 10 times a day, probably.
A lot of times. So nothing will change there, but it'll be a little different. But we'll adjust. But let's go over kind of turning defeat into success, and we don't need to go. We've done it before, but kind of your background of growing up, it was a tough upbringing. Gigi, your mom, did such an amazing job, worked hard, but obviously you weren't given a silver spoon growing up. You didn't have, nothing was handed to you. Kind of what were some of those lessons learned early on that you turned, into the success you have now?
Well, number one, I don't believe that anything happens by chance. I'll tell you, the good Lord has a plan. He created a plan for each and every one of us in eternity's past, and he just orchestrates that plan. So nothing catches the good Lord by surprise, let me tell you guys. And I can go all the way back to my literal beginnings. And I think at one of our episodes, I said that I had a 14-year-old mother that got pregnant. Obviously, back in the 50s, that was not a cool thing. Not that it is today, but it really wasn't a cool thing back then. And the dad said, "You ain't keeping that kid." Well, the good Lord had a plan. And I went from a 14-year-old birth mother to a 38-year-old mom. And it turned defeat into victory because, as Jordan pointed out, my mom, Gigi is what the kids called her, was a godly lady, and I am who I am today because of her. So, that was just an early on turning defeat into victory. I'll give you one more, and then you can jump in, Jordo. But I didn't have a dad in my life. Dad, he had run off, wasn't a real good guy. But, I loved basketball, and my coaches ended up being my role models. And, it turned that defeat of not having a dad figure in my life into a victory, because starting when I was just a kid, a guy named J.B. Kirk at Oak Crest Baptist Church, where you played all the little leagues and all that stuff, an amazing role model, godly man. Then when I was in middle school, a black gentleman named Henry Warren, who I loved Coach Warren to death. I mean, I idolized Coach Warren, and another good guy. And then I had Coach Mayo. I mean, Coach Mayo, godly man who was an amazing role model. And then my junior and senior year, I had a gentleman named Coach John Paul Fultz, who was just a good man, a moral man, taught me a whole lot. So it turned the defeat of not having a dad in my life like you did, but I had basically kind of like four dads, and then you add Manny in the picture.
Yep.
I was blessed to have some amazing role models. So,
Definitely.
you can make the best of everything, and I think that's what we did there.
So before I get into kind of some of my stuff, which I'll say I had it a little easier than you did, but I got two questions for you. One, what keeps you from keeping your dauber in the dirt, feeling defeated, saying, nothing's ever going to happen with me? Why am I so unfortunate? Living in that, headspace of just being defeated in life. How do you turn that and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to make the most of myself. I'm going to get up out of my situations and actually be someone.
Well, it goes back to how I started this. What drives me, what gives me hope, is that I don't think that anything happens by chance. The good Lord has a plan, and I believe with every fiber in me that He has been forever, and He will be forever. And in eternity's past, He came up with a plan for our lives. And he sets and orchestrates that plan. And so God's got a plan. You know, if I just thought things just by chance happened and you just hoping everything turns out okay, it would be tough on me. But I was blessed to have mom who was had me in church. My gosh, I grew up, in church, and I grew up believing that the good Lord is in control of everything. So it kept me focused. Now, the good Lord doesn't promise you won't have a trial along the way, and obviously we've had lots of trials, especially lately. But that's what kept me going, Jordo, is just faith in the good Lord. I don't believe the good Lord has any maverick molecules out there. I think He's in control of all the details. I think He knows exactly what's going on, and it's up to us to just put our hope and faith in Him.
Definitely. So my next question would be on, being a role model for me, being an unbelievable father figure. You didn't have that in your life. So how did you turn into an amazing dad when most people that don't have a father figure in their lives, really struggle, and when they have their own kids, it doesn't always turn out great for them being in their lives. So how did you turn that negative into a positive with me?
Well, one, I was watching J.B. Kirk and Henry Warren and J.D. Mayo and John Paul Fultz. I was watching Manny Carter. I was watching people that were good people. But then, I used my dad was a role model
Of what not to do.
of what not to do. I played sports my whole life. My dad never came to a game. I mean, not one. With you and with Sarah Beth too, with her singing and cheerleading and all that, I didn't just come to the games. I went to as many practices as I could fit in. So I used him kind of as what would Dad have done? Okay, I'm doing the opposite. And I mean, that is so sad. That sounds terrible when I say it now, but it was the truth. Given 30 seconds on him, he started out as a good guy. When he and Mom got married, good guy. He started drinking occasionally, then a little more occasionally, then every weekend, then every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then he got where when he'd come in from work, he would drink, and he just turned into an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I don't think he started out a bad guy, but he just let alcoholism take him over, and it was sad.
Yeah. So I guess important, kind of the moral of the story, what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but regardless of where you are in your life, find role models and, have someone to bounce ideas off of. Let them teach you things, soak it all in like a sponge. And even if things aren't going the best in your life right now, let's find a way to get up out of that.
Well, yeah, I teach all the time when I'm talking is that, guys, everybody listening to us today, I don't care who you are, you can show me a room of 10,000 people. And everybody in there has some dirty laundry.
Yeah.
We've all done a couple of things in our life where we look back and go, what was I thinking?
Yep.
We've done that. The other thing, we don't get to pick our parents. I got kind of the 50-50 deal. When I popped out, Mom came and got me, and at that point in time, I had a decent dad, but he kind of changed. But I ended up with one good parent. But we don't get to pick our parents. What we do get to pick, though, is our life. If we will take responsibility and understand that, until we get to heaven and can ask the good Lord Himself why we were in that situation. I'd like to know, why, Lord, did I not have a good dad? But He had a reason for it. And at some point in time, I'll find that out. But, we just have to make the best of each situation. None of us can go back and make a new beginning, but we can all start now and make a different ending. And that's where we turn defeat into victory. If things are not going our way and we just give into it, but that was never me.
Yeah.
With me, I just always had a burning desire in my butt to be somebody, and I was going to fight through the adversity. I was going to fight through what looked like defeats. And become a winner. I always tell people I either win or I learn. I don't feel like I win or lose. I win or I learn. And sometimes when you're learning, they can be real expensive, either financially or emotionally or whatever. But if we'll get the attitude that we're going to either win or learn, then we can take defeat and turn it into victory, Jordan.
Definitely. Do you have any other instances that stick out in your upbringing in, adult life, business life, of turning defeat into success?
Well, yeah, I mean, I could go over a couple more here. I was doing some real estate with a buddy of mine, and he decided he wanted to kind of split up the partnership. And I just thought it's the end of the world. I thought, this is not good. This is the end of the world. But get this, I went and talked to Manny about it.
Yeah.
Cousin Manny, who has been a role model of mine forever, and I am who I am in part because of Manny Carter. But I went to Manny to see what his thoughts on it would be and what his words of wisdom would be. And Manny said, "Hey, I'll buy him out. I'll be your partner." And I went from being in the depths of depression, thinking our partnership's breaking up. What am I going to do? And I went and talked to Manny, and Manny said, "Hey, let's partner up." And then Manny and I ended up buying car washes and some other stuff, and it ended up being a great venture. And I got to work with Manny in a business setting that I never dreamed I would. But it turned again, defeat into victory. Another one was when I was a senior in college. I didn't know what I was going to do about a job. I was going to be a coach, but I didn't have any leads. I had talked to tons of people. Nothing was open. Couldn't find anything. And went over to Gordon and Judy Porter's. Gordon and Judy. Went over to their house one weekend to just swim and hang out with them, just friends. And a guy named Alton Hill happened to be there. And, I was talking to Coach Hill. Was a little older than I was. He had been coaching for a while. And, I just said, "Well, I'm fixing to graduate. I don't have any leads on anything." And he goes, "Hey, we're looking for somebody at Lakeview." I go, "Really?" Yeah. I'll call Bobby Ewell, who was the head football coach there, the athletic director of the school. I'll call him, tell him that he needs to talk to you. So I went from, again, kind of in a state of depression, wondering what I was going to do when I graduated because I didn't have any leads on a job, to literally going over to Gordon and Judy Porter's to swim. And, the good Lord, again, it was a divine appointment, had Alton there. And I went and talked to Coach Ewell. I ended up coaching football and track. Basketball was my sport. Now, I'd played some football. I'd played some baseball. I'd run the quarter mile. But get this, I'll throw this in as a side note. I was the field event coach. I'm teaching guys how to put the shot, how to pole vault, how to do all that stuff. Talking about reading books and asking people and studying, and I went to a conference where I could learn. I mean, I didn't want to get somebody killed on the pole vault, but anyway, that was just a side note. But anyway, I coached football and track my first year, and then got to slide, thank the Lord, got to slide into basketball, and that's where I spent the next 15 years. But again, it was turning something that I was, concerned, worried, depressed about, and the good Lord had a plan, and I got to meet Alton and do that. And then, a couple of them here recently, though, Jordo, we've had a couple of bad business experiences, but, because of those experiences, we had kind of got into the auto hauling, and now we're in a business that's actually making money and looks like it has a chance to make a lot of money. So, you kind of, again, you either win or you learn, and we've learned a lot with this one.
Definitely. One thing I love about this podcast is I learn new things about you all the time. Every time we sit here and talk, how you got your job at Lakeview. I think I knew that you did some field stuff. I knew you did shop, but I didn't know about pole vault. That is bizarre, because that is not a. I wouldn't think that's just easy to jump into, and people, they could really get hurt.
Oh, those young guys were looking at me, wanting to know how to do it, and I'm telling you, the pole vault's where I probably spent more time talking to pole vault coaches, and I went to a conference and sat through seminars on how to pole vault, and I'm reading books on how to pole vault. And
did they ever ask you to show them? Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Coach. Could you please just show me one time on how to get over that 18-foot bar up there.
No, thank the Lord they didn't ask me because I couldn't have done that. Now I was 22 and in great shape, and I could halfway show them how to put a shot, but pole vault, no, I couldn't do squat.
Do you think your putting of the shot coaching led to my 8th grade second place in district finish in shot put?
Oh, I think that was the reason. I mean,
tell our viewers here about my 8th grade experience there, because that was.
Well, this was kind of comical. Jordan, to this day, is slender. Well, when
I was really slender
when
in
he
those
was in
days.
the 8th grade, I don't know what he weighed, but he was a toothpick. And somehow Coach Johnson put you in the shot put. Now, how in the world that ever happened? And, this is the city meet. Jordan's in the shot put. And all these guys are big football-like looking guys.
Linemen.
Big linemen. I mean, even in the 8th grade, 200 pounds plus. And I don't know if Jordan weighed 100 pounds wet, But he got out there, and it was the most unbelievable thing. I mean, he put the shot and came within an inch and a half of winning the city championship on the shot put, going against guys that literally were twice his size. And it was a pretty amazing deal.
Strong.
I guess so. You had something going.
Strong. We'll go with that. But, as far as my stuff goes, obviously I didn't have the same upbringing. I had one of the best upbringings I could possibly imagine. But, my stuff comes just from more sports and kind of building off that story of I was always the smallest and I played up. I played up an age group in baseball all the time. And golly, 14 was that year that I didn't play much for the Texans. Was it Texans still?
I believe so.
When Randy came and coached. I didn't play much, had a really tough year, but I was so small. Like other guys had grown, they were big and strong. I was small for my own grade. I was playing up a grade and didn't play much. But let
me interject real quick here. His attitude, though, was amazing because he had the attitude of, I want to play. And, I mean, he would come in from school and go, Dad, let's go hit. Dad, let's go hit me some grounders. Dad, let's go. And, I mean, his work ethic, because he wanted to be good, I think it was a blessing in disguise. I think, again, we turned defeat into victory because you worked your butt off that year and became a much better player, much better skill set, and then you grew.
Definitely. So, what I would call turning defeat into victory for me was I had to learn to do things the right way. I wasn't going to overpower guys. I wasn't, getting out there and finding a lot of success, so I had to do things the right way. So learning how to do stuff the right way in return, when I did grow, got a little stronger, all these things led me to being one of the better players on the field. And you could have given up at that point. You could have said, this isn't for me. I don't like it. I'm not playing. I quit. But you just got to stick with it. And I think the best thing I can tell people watching the show right now is you got to stick with it. When things aren't going good, if you want to be successful, you have to stick with it. If you don't stick with it, you're going to give up, you're going to be defeated for good, and you're never going to get to where you want to go. Nothing in life that you want is easy. It takes work. And just because stuff's not going your way, you do feel down in the dumps, you have to keep going and find the success you're looking for in the long run.
Absolutely. And I think something that we get in our mind is that winners don't fail.
Correct.
Winners fail, guys. They just don't quit. So you got to understand. I could sit here and we could spend a whole show on my screw-ups. I mean, I've hit a couple of them here, but I mean, I got pages of them. But I quitting never crossed my mind. When people are reading, about my life when I'm dead and gone, they will never read that he gave up or that he quit. That's just not in me. I will fight to the bitter end, and I think that has been the key to my success. I tell people all the time, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I had a burning desire in my butt to be somebody, and I was willing to go through whatever it took to get there. And I think you've got to understand, you're going to have defeats in your life. You're going to fail some, but it's one of those things where you don't win or lose, win or learn. And my gosh, here recently we've had a business deal go south on us, and that could have got a lot of people down and depressed and just said forget it. But with Jordan and I, it's okay. Let's just figure out where we screwed up. Let's learn from it. Okay, let's get to the next one. And I think that's the attitude that if you want to be a winner, whether it be in life or business or anything else, you got to go. And then, the other thing I'll say is, I put my faith in the Lord. I put my faith in Jesus. He's the one with the plan, and he's orchestrating that plan. We just got to understand that things aren't just happening. Nothing catches him by surprise. And he lets us go through a lot of stuff because I and Jordan, too, we've learned so much more when we've had tough times than we've had the good times. You don't learn a lot in the good times, but, baby, you learn a lot in the tough times. And like he just went over, the year that he wasn't playing a lot is when we really focused in on his skill set, and he learned a lot on that year. Definitely. And I think that made the difference in the next 3 or 4 years that, he ended up being National Player of the Year in high school. So
definitely. And, it's when it's not involving sports, just in real world, getting back to self-growth is huge to achieve success. Learn. Whenever you're not getting the success you want, whether, it's business, personal growth, whatever it is, you need to read, you need to learn. So another example, which I haven't hit success with yet. I mean, this is the middle ground of a problem that I'm going to find success for is I would say Grayson. Grayson is a very strong-willed kid. He is an unbelievable kid. He is one of the most fun kids to be with.
And a good heart.
Great heart. But there are difficult times with Grayson that he needs learning. He needs us as parents, as grandparents, to teach him things. He needs to learn how to act and treat his sisters. And there's things like this that we're having to work on with him. And, we've turned to reading books, to talking to people. We want to learn what to do. And you have to stick with this. And this is going to be a journey with him. But, going back to self-growth and just I'm filling my brain with things that help me solve the problem. And just because I'm not successful yet, I will be. And don't take this the wrong way, guys. Grayson is a great kid. He just, if it's not his way, he doesn't like that. And there's a lot of 6-year-olds that are very similar to that. But we just want, at the end of the day, regardless of what he does in life, the most important thing that Nikki and I talk about all the time is all we want for him is to be a good person, a good human, and treat people with kindness. And that's how we rate our success as parents, is what kind of person he becomes, not what kind of, if he's good at hockey, not good at hockey, if he, is president of the United States, that's all great and we want great things for him. But are you a good person? Do you treat people with respect? What do people say about him? Do they like him because of the person he is? And that's what matters to us. But that's just a good example of, a different kind of problem that I'm sure a lot of people on this show have dealt with over the years, have kids, trying to understand kids. Kids are not easy to understand. So how do you do that? You learn.
Well, you don't get a owner's manual when they pop out.
They don't.
And I'll say this as far as athletics goes, I loved you when you were a superstar baseball player, but I loved you just as much when your baseball career was over. I mean, it's what you do. If you'd have been a tuba player, I would have loved you. I mean, you got that unconditional love for your kid. I want you to hit one more, and you haven't talked about this, but I got, I don't know, maybe it's the Lord putting a feeling in me that you should mention this, but you fought some anxiety.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about winning that battle, because that's been a struggle, and I know there's lots of people that struggle with that.
And maybe I should have led with this, because this may be the most relatable issue that so many people are going through. A lot of people don't talk about it, whatever it is, but definitely. When was that? 2021.
I think so.
2021, just had a real bad battle with anxiety. to the point that it was kind of crippling, which is, to be honest, just scary, not knowing where something comes from, what it is. But, like Presley said, we're the same, and we're not going to give up. We're not going to quit. And at that point in time, turned to the Lord to help with that situation. Got up with Shivers at Prestonwood and had to spend a lot of time with him, just going over stuff. Got with somebody to talk about the issue as well outside of the church, but to talk about the issues and really just started working on it. And, got to a point within 4 to 6 months where, I think it's something you always deal with, but you're at a very manageable level, and it's not something that controls your life. And that was, of all things in life, the toughest battle I've gone through, where I've never felt more defeated in my life. I mean, we don't need to go deep into it, but you saw me through those few weeks where it was, probably I was unrecognizable. But the main thing there is battle every day, take a step forward, just battle your way out of things, to the point that's probably my biggest victory that I've possibly had in life, by taking just a really bad situation, turning it to positive, and just really fighting through. And it just takes time, and it takes effort and dedication to, seeing a light at the end of the tunnel and getting there in the long run.
Well, it was a proud moment for me when I saw how hard you were battling, and it also, did my heart good when I saw you give it to the Lord and just say, Lord, I can't do this without you. And the Lord helped him through that time. But, thank the Lord, he's pretty normal now. Yeah. So
luckily,
that's good.
Luckily, it didn't last too long. But you do feel on an island. If anybody's listening that's dealt with these issues, you feel on an island. It's not the end. There is hope, and you just gotta know that. And it may not feel like it, but you just got to keep pushing through. Find someone to talk to, and at the end of the day, it will pass, but it just takes some time.
Well, I think you've shown vulnerability to even talk about this on here, but I just felt like there might be somebody watching this that might need to hear that you can turn that defeat into victory.
Definitely. And I'm always happy to talk to anybody about, if you do deal with some anxiety type stuff. I'm always happy to talk, because you do feel alone in the issue, and it's hard for somebody. I think the toughest part is, talking to you about it and say, hey, I'm feeling this way. And, you were always there to help me, but it's like, you don't know what I'm explaining to you. It's hard.
It was hard to relate.
Yeah.
I mean, and I would take a bullet for Jordan, and I wanted nothing more than him to get to feeling better. So I was doing my best to relate to him and to understand. But, some things, if you haven't lived through it yourself, you have a hard time doing that.
And that's one that more than anything, I think maybe with that, it's bizarre, but no, there's hope, and if people are dealing with that, you will find it. And like I said, I'm always happy to talk about that stuff, because I've been there and gone through it and got the medal, and not a medal I want, but
got the cap and T-shirt. And
that's it.
Well, guys, we can kind of wind this up by just saying that if you're going through a tough time, something that gets me through a lot is I just say, this too shall pass. And kind of going back to how we started this, I was standing in Nana's room, and she's depressed. I could tell. And, she's 86 years old, and I could tell she's wondering if, is this the beginning of the end? And, I just started giving her words of encouragement, and I watched her whole demeanor change, because I just said, you got lots of years left on this earth. You got to turn something bad into something good, and just understand that no matter how bad it is, this too shall pass. And, we can spend another show. I could go through several other things that's going on in my world right now. But, I just look to the Lord. I keep telling myself, this too shall pass. And if you look back on your life, it does. I mean, we're going through times that we don't think will ever change, but they do. And if you're going through something tough, I promise you, this too shall pass.
Definitely. No, I think this was a great episode. I think, people can definitely get a lot from it. If you do find value in what we're talking about, guys, subscribe to the channel, give us a comment, let us know your thoughts, because that definitely, helps us judge y'all's temperature on things. Do not forget the giveaway we are doing on Presley's books. You have to thumbs up the video, comment on it, and subscribe to the channel. We will pick 3 lucky winners that will get a signed copy of, you'll get both books, signed copies. It's a really cool deal.
I'll add something to that, Jordan.
Give it to them.
The 3 people that win this, after you've had a chance to read the books, look through them, if you want to jump on the phone and get to talk to me and ask me some questions, I'll even do that. How's that?
Perfect. Let's do this again then. Like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel. You will get both books, signed copies, and we'll set up a Zoom with Presley to go over them with you, give you some encouragement, kind of ask any questions that you want on those, which is a really cool deal. You will get a lot out of that. I think that's super cool.
That just crossed my mind while we were sitting here.
When you're doing good things, great thoughts come into the mind. So no, that's I'll give this one last thing, guys. We always talk about self-growth. We always talk about that. And here I was listening to a book on audio for the 30-minute ride over here, and that's where I came up with let's do a giveaway of the books. I feel like there's so much good information in there. Let's get them out to some people and see. And it's just, after I came up with that idea, I'm just thinking, this is why nothing in what I'm reading is telling me to get on YouTube and do a giveaway on your channel, but your brain just starts thinking different ways because you're filling it with good stuff, and then that's where the growth begins.
Amen.
Which I think's super cool. But guys, we thank everybody for jumping on today. We love doing this. This was episode 15, and this is the first episode that Presley didn't say, "Oh my gosh, it's already 15."
I started to say that, and I decided I'd do that every time, so I wouldn't today. So
it just didn't feel right without you saying it. But another fun one. Always love doing it with you.
Our next one will be 4 months.
4 months.
Doing this.
But we are consistent, guys. We are every Friday morning putting this out, and we're going to stick doing this every single week because Presley and I love doing it, and we're hoping it brings value to each and every one of you.
Well, God bless you guys, and if I can do anything, let us know. Like I said, if you got anything you want us to cover, put it in the comments. We read those. We will try to cover any topic that you want us to cover within reason.
Awesome. Thanks for jumping in, guys.